Yo guys, what's going on? I'm Tim Kelly along with Justin Godsey. This is the Real Sports Talk, and as we get close to the Super Bowl, that means the NFL season is winding down and MLB is right around the corner. We're going to start our 30 Clubs in 30 Days preview series within the next couple weeks. Probably about February 8th is the date we're targeting right now. But what we're going to do in the meantime is we're going to give you, me and myself and Justin Godsey of the Real Sports Talk as well. We're going to give you our top 10 at each position. Today we're going to start with first baseman. And Justin, I think that first baseman is one of the hardest positions to really pick a top 10 because there are so many guys you could potentially put on this list based off what they've done in their career and what they did last year.
Exactly. We looked at stats from last year, and you know what we think that what you can really predict out of the people, or out of the players that we chosen coming into the 2013 season. Now, our list, we'll be doing every position. That means relief pitchers, starting pitchers, closers. I mean, we're going all out this year, leading up to our 30 clubs in 30 days.
And in the meantime, while we're doing those 30 clubs in 30 days, one quick announcement I want to make before we start the first base is Akeem Balaam, who does 10 minutes on the clock and some other stuff here, does weekly NFL predictions. He's going to be anchoring our coverage of the World Baseball Classic as well. So we're going to have all the baseball, all the NBA, all the NFL, everything here on the Real Sports Talk. So subscribe. Without any more self-promotion, let's get a top 10 list going. At number 10, Justin, who do you have?
I'm going with Mike Napoli of the Boston Red Sox here. You know, it took a while for him to get the contract done with the Boston Red Sox. When you look at the stats from last year, 24 home runs, 56 RBIs, and a mediocre 227 average. This is the guy who's going to be bringing the pop into this lineup for the Boston Red Sox. They're going to be placing him over at first base as Gerard Saltalamacchia is getting another year to prove himself at the catcher's position to, build a name for himself. But Mike Napoli going to first base. He has played first base before, had experience over in LA, coming over to Boston. I can see a really great fit at first base for this guy. I do expect to have another turnaround season, but I think with the average, I think his averages go up a little bit, maybe at 230, maybe at the highest at 240. But I really have him at batting 230 this year with about 25 to 26 home runs. You know, with the RBI range, I think that's right on target where I have him for this upcoming year.
For me at number 10, I have Paul Goldschmidt. I think he is going to have a breakout season for the Arizona Diamondbacks. Last year hit 280, about 20 home runs. This year, I could see Paul Goldschmidt hitting about 290, 285 with about 30 home runs this year. He's a very bright young piece, and now that they've traded Justin Upton away, the expectation is that someone else in this lineup is going to step up, and I think Paul Goldschmidt could be that guy for the Arizona Diamondbacks, so he's my number 10. Number 9, Justin, who are you going with?
I'm going with your favorite team. I'm going with your favorite first baseman, Ryan Howard. Ryan Howard of the Philadelphia Phillies last year, 14 home runs, 56 RBIs, batting .219. A very down year for Ryan Howard, coming off of the ankle injury. Tim, I'm pretty sure that's what it was. Going into this year, I do have a lot of expectations for Ryan Howard. He's also one of my favorite first basemen to watch in all of Major League Baseball. This is a guy who, at one point in his career hit multi-home runs, 33 home runs, 31 home runs, 40 home runs. I mean, this year was just a complete downfall for him, like I said, coming off the injury. Going into 2013, I do have high expectations for him. I can see him getting back up into the 20 range. 30 could be something that he can be an overachieving, just get that and be really impressive this year for the Phillies, who also had a down year last year team-wise. This year, I have Ryan Howard posted down for 25 home runs and about 70 RBIs with a solid, 240 average. I think that's really good for him. I think he can really make it that high, and the sky's the limit for Ryan Howard going into 2013 to go back and lead this team back to the playoffs.
All right, Ryan Howard, I also have at number 9. He's coming off the Achilles injury, but he did have some side effects on the ankle, so you weren't necessarily wrong there. I think adding Michael Young into this lineup once they get Carlos Ruiz back, Chase Utley back, I think Ryan Howard will have more protection. And his numbers have gone down the last few years. He's really struggled against lefties especially. But the one thing is he's never had great protection since Raul Ibanez really began to decline, and before that when they had Pat Burrell in this lineup. So I'm just looking at Ryan Howard, And I don't know what to expect, and it's a lot like this Phillies team. I don't know what to expect because we haven't seen him play a full season in a few years now. I think if he's able to play a full season, the entire lineup around him produces at a decent level. I think Ryan Howard will hit about 35 home runs, drive in about 110 RBIs this year. That's all assuming he plays or he stays healthy. Last year, 14 home runs. That was after he came back in, I believe, late July, or mid to late July. So it certainly wasn't a full season or anything. He had a lot of pop last year, but he struck out a ridiculous amount of times, even for Ryan Howard. So he's a guy that I have at number 9. He could be lower, he could be higher. We really are not sure at this point. So number 9 is kind of a safe spot for Ryan Howard. At number 8, Justin, who do you have?
At number 8, I'm a huge fan of this one. Like we've been telling you guys, when it comes to this, you guys are gonna be getting a lot of why. But at number 8, I'm going to be going with first baseman in Milwaukee, Corey Hart. He's going to be sidelined going into the season, but you know what? I think this is a guy who's going to be going into this upcoming season, once he's 100% healthy, who is very capable of hitting 30 home runs. He saw last year 30 home runs, 83 RBIs, and had a 270 average. Really great year for the Milwaukee Brewers. I think Corey Hart, once he comes off, is going to be a force to be reckoned with. I have him going into the season having a 25 home run season with about 75, 76 RBIs. A solid 270. I think he can come back and repeat what he had last year. This guy is a really amazing up-and-coming talent. They decided to bring him into first base, as his outfield has Aoki in right, Carlos Gomez in center, and you have Ryan in left. So Corey Hart used to play right field, like I said, with Aoki playing in right, bringing him up into first base, bringing a lot of power up at the first base position, and that's what the Brewers team really needs. So I think Corey Hart will be a force to be reckoned with also next year.
It all depends how much time he gets. Now he's been in right field for them. I would say if he plays a full season, then 24, 25 is a nice amount, depending on how much he's able to play. At number 8, I have a young upcoming guy, Eric Hosmer. He had a very down season last year for the Kansas City Royals, and a lot of people are going to kill me for having a guy like Hosmer on my list and not having Adam LaRoche of the Washington Nationals. But something about Hosmer, I really do believe he fell into a sophomore slump, and he is going to have a big-time bounce-back season. 25, 30 home runs, I think, is a fair number for him. He's in a young, talented lineup with guys like Salvador Perez, Mike Moustakas. It's a very good young lineup, and none of them really killed it last year. But I think we'll see a turnaround from the Kansas City Royals as a team offensively this year. And I think Eric Hosmer is going to lead that charge and have a very good breakout season for the Kansas City Royals. Now at number 7, Justin, who are you looking at?
Adam LaRoche is my number 7. Adam LaRoche last year, a big year for him, probably one of the biggest years we've seen him have in recent years. Adam LaRoche last year, 33 home runs, 100 RBIs. Going into the postseason, in the time that they were in the postseason, they got eliminated in the divisional round. 2 home runs, 2 RBIs. The average wasn't solid, but he did produce, pretty decent. Coming up in those big at-bats, got him the home runs, like I said. Got a 271. He's going to be their everyday first base. And I have a feeling that Adam LaRoche is capable of hitting 33 home runs. But looking above and beyond, at his age right now, you're not gonna see a major decline in Adam LaRoche this upcoming year. But I think it's more than capable that he's gonna have 28 home runs, maybe around 89, maybe 95 RBIs, somewhere in the mix of that. I think that's where Adam LaRoche is. He has a great power bat and a great batter to have in your lineup.
I have Freddie Freeman of the Atlanta Braves at number 7, and for me, Freddie Freeman brings a lot at the plate because he can bring 25-type home run power, but the place where Freddie Freeman really wins it for me, and it's kind of like how Mark Teixeira used to be, except Mark Teixeira had more power, is, yeah, he had the great power and was great at the plate, but in the field, Freddie Freeman is one of the best, if not the best, fielding first baseman we have in the game right now. We have a lot of good fielding first basemen with Teixeira, with Albert Pujols. There's a handful of first basemen who are very good at their position right now, and Freddie Freeman exemplifies that. He'll give you a pretty high average. He's not going to strike out a ton. So I like Freddie Freeman a lot, and I think in a lot of ways, teams are going more towards these type of first basemen who will hit you, a 290 average, 25 home runs, rather than a power bat like, maybe a Ryan Howard who's going to hit 250 with 35 or 40 home runs. Teams would rather take these guys who would hit 290, maybe even 300, and drive in maybe less runs than those big bats are, but give you a better glove in the field. Closing in on halfway through the list, Justin, who do you have at 6?
At number 6, you pretty much stated it. I have Freddie Freeman. I think Freddie Freeman, who is, like you said, is a great defensive player, an awesome defensive player, really brings it to, in the field, and also at the bat. Batted .259 last year, 23 home runs, 94 RBIs. Phenomenal year for him, and I really think that he can really be compared to to a Mark Teixeira, who is a multi-Gold Glove Award winner, and Freddie Freeman is just right on the edge of getting a Gold Glove due to his defensive performance. So that's really great on his part. A great 3 or 4 tool player there. So Freddie Freeman going into this upcoming season, I do have a lot of expectations at this first baseman class. Freddie Freeman is going to be my breakout player. Well, not breakout. A guy you really want to watch for the NL MVP award, because this is a guy who has the tools, has the power to hit you above 30 home runs. I have him at 30 home runs whole this year with about 100 RBIs. So 94 RBIs last season. I think he does, like I said, have the solid potential to hit 100 RBIs a year.
At number 6 for me, I have an all-star last year, and that's Billy Butler, the Kansas City Royals, a guy who does not get enough credit. Now, a lot of times you're going to see Billy Butler at the DH spot because obviously they have Eric Hosmer there as well, but Billy Butler technically is a first baseman. Last year hit .313, 29 home runs. He's still only 27, although it feels like he's been with the Royals for quite a long time now. .313 with 29 home runs. Let that sink in, because pretty much every team in the MLB, with the exception of the teams that have the next 5 first basemen that I'm going to list, would love to have a guy like Billy Butler who's done that. He's still only 27 years old, so there's some room for him to go up and improve on that. But I really like what Billy Butler's done the last few years and where he is headed as he approaches the prime of his career. Halfway through the list now, Justin, who are you looking at as your number 5 as we get into some of the best first basemen in the MLB?
When you think about, the top 5 first basemen of all of Major League Baseball, we're getting into the higher names now. And at number 5, I want to look at my favorite first baseman, all Major League Baseball, my favorite player, and that's Mark Teixeira. When you look at Mark Teixeira last season, in the beginning of the season, did not really light it up as well, but as the season progressed, Mark Teixeira really did a good job racking up the stats. But like I said, going into the postseason, he wasn't really, the Mark Teixeira we've seen as of late. Last year in the regular season, Teixeira 24 home runs, 84 RBIs, batted .251. Going into the season, on a fan's note first, and I'll get into a professional. On a fan's point, I hope that Mark Teixeira does improve. I hope he does, come out of the season, coming in the beginning of the season, it really does light it up. And this Yankee team, that really needs, the extra power. You have no A-Rod there, but you really need that extra power, and that's where Mark Teixeira, what he really does bring to the plate. Mark Teixeira, on an analysis point of view here, I think Mark Teixeira does have the capabilities of reaching, 30 home runs this year with about the same RBIs that he has right now, 84, the best that he can get, maybe about 90 to 95, and that's what I really do project him going into this season.
For me at number 5, I'm looking at a guy who, early on with the Cincinnati Reds, I thought he was going to be a great third baseman. Never really worked out there. But coming over to the American League, something always seems to turn some of these guys around with the Toronto Blue Jays. They've done a great job, obviously, with Joey Bats, Jose Bautista, and what they did with Edwin Encarnacion, who actually had more home runs last year than Jose Bautista, was extremely impressive. Encarnacion among the league leaders in home runs last year with 42. He has become one of the best power hitters in the MLB, and I don't expect that he's going to hit 42 again, but I would expect 35 plus from Edwin Encarnacion coming into the 2013 season, because something really seems to have clicked with him in Toronto. You also add in the fact that he has a good lineup around him, not only Jose Bautista, but you add Melky Cabrera. It should enable him to see more pitches this season than he even saw last year in a year where he was extremely successful. So I'm going with Edwin Encarnacion at number 5. Now at number 4, Justin, who do you have?
I got Adrian Gonzalez of the Los Angeles Dodgers. This is a really surprising pick because I know a lot of you guys would be like, okay, Adrian Gonzalez, a top 3 first baseman. I don't really see it. Last year, the home runs didn't really impress a lot of us. It went down a whole lot last year from the seasons prior. 18 home runs, 108 RBIs, and he had a really solid average at 299. He's going into a Dodgers team that's really stacked in power. Matt Kemp, Andre Ethier, just named a couple of guys, and Adrian Gonzalez is just adding to the acquirements here. Adrian Gonzalez, I'm a big fan of him. I do expect a lot out of him. I expect the home run capability is going to go up even higher. I think he's really capable. Like we all seen him hit, 40 home runs this season at one point of his career. I don't know exactly what year it was, but Adrian Gonzalez going into the season, I do expect him to hit, close to 33 to 35 home runs. I do expect the RBIs to be the same, maybe a little bit higher, maybe about 112 or 113, and their average is going to possibly either stay the same or go up a little bit. I just think that Adrian Gonzalez going into Los Angeles with the great, Mark McGwire being their hitting coach, great duo there as a good coach and a good hitter. Adrian Gonzalez is going to have a great season for Los Angeles.
For me, at number 4, I'm going with Prince Fielder. He had a season last year where 313, you'll take that from a power hitter every day of the week. But 30 home runs, I think, hitting in a lineup with Miguel Cabrera, and then this year you're going to get Victor Martinez back, I think he can do more power-wise this year. I would expect more like 35, 36 home runs this year in a Tigers lineup that is very deep, very impressive, and they have 2 of the best power hitters in Miguel Cabrera and Prince Fielder. I think Prince Fielder has another really good year and probably a better season than he had last year for the Detroit Tigers. I'm going with him at number 4. Now, Justin, at number 3, we're really getting down to the best in the game. Who you going with?
Number 3, I'm going with Joey Votto here. Yes, last year Joey Votto did miss out on, somewhere like 49 to 50 games last year, but, had a decrease in home runs, the former NL MVP. Joey Votto really brings something very talented to the Cincinnati Reds team. Brings power, brings average. You saw last year, 337. Really, really great season for Joey Votto. Just that the injuries do linger in him. I'm not saying he's really injury prone, but he does get injured every once in a while. And that last year was just one of those years where he was injured. Joey Votto, going into this season, he has capabilities of reaching, the 30 home run spot. Back in 2010 where he had 37 home runs. Really impressive. He does have capabilities of hitting, like I said, in the 30 home run range. But Joey Votto going into this year, I have him put down for the range of 32 to 34 home runs with about 104 RBIs, with a solid, maybe 299, an average around where Adrian Gonzalez was this year. So, I can see a small decrease in average this year, but I really think Joey Votto will come through in clutch situations for Cincinnati going into this season.
I'm going to go with Adrian Gonzalez of the Los Angeles Dodgers, and I think that he's the perfect guy to be on a West Coast, more laid-back, hot weather type philosophy because it worked for him in San Diego. In Boston, he had the short right field porch and a great lineup. Everyone thought it was going to work, and it just did not work at all. And that's why they ultimately ended up moving on from him only a couple years into the deal. I think given a full season in Los Angeles, and we're going to see a lot closer to the Adrian Gonzalez that I thought was the best player in the MLB a few years ago, I expect Adrian Gonzalez to hit between 35 and 40 home runs this year and be an MVP candidate because he has the type of talent to do that. It didn't work in Boston, but a full season in LA with a very good lineup around him, and Adrian Gonzalez should return to form. Now, Justin, it comes down to the list of just a few guys for the last 2. Who do you have at number 2?
At number 2, I'm going with Prince Fielder of the Detroit Tigers. Really, you guys are really interesting. It was like, where's Edwin Encarnacion on this list? We can really build a great debate there, but you know what? At number 2, I'm going with Prince Fielder of the Detroit Tigers. Last year in his debut for the Tigers, really interesting team that came out and signed him. I've always thought he'll probably go back to Milwaukee, but you know what? Prince Fielder going over to Detroit, a big requirement for this team, really helped out this year, this past season for the Tigers. Look how far they went to the World Series, but couldn't really connect the dots in the series taking on the Giants. Last year, 30 home runs, 108 RBIs, batted .313. Going into this upcoming season, I have a repeat of the season. I think his home runs can go up a little bit more. The RBIs could be saying the same, but I think the average will go down a little bit. I think he got a little bit too comfortable this year in the AL. I can see his average going down just a little bit, not a whole lot. But the home runs will go up, the RBIs will probably stay the same, but the average will go down a little bit. But Prince Fielder overall will have a great season going into 2013.
All right, for me, the guy I have at number 2 is a guy who, when I've made this list, whether it's on some websites I've had or on the show for the past 4 or 5 years now, I've always had him at number 1, and this year I have him at number 2 largely because he only hit .285 with 30 home runs. Now, that's a stat line that you would take for most guys, but Albert Pujols in that Los Angeles Angels lineup, that's normally not what you expect out of him. This year, I don't think Albert Pujols will ever be nearly as good or quite as good as he was with the St. Louis Cardinals again. I think he is a little bit past his prime, but you add Josh Hamilton into this lineup, Albert Pujols will see way more pitches than he ever has at any point in his career except maybe his rookie season with Mark McGwire. And I think adding that in, the power will go up, the average will go back up, and Albert Pujols will be in the MVP race. I don't know if he's capable at this point of hitting 42, 43 home runs, but I would expect about 37 or 38 home runs with an average just over 300. Justin, I'm going to take a wild guess and say you have Albert Pujols at number 1.
I do have Albert Pujols at number 1, 30 home runs, 105 RBIs, batted .285 last year. Coming in the beginning parts of the season with Albert Pujols, everybody was like, where was the Albert Pujols we saw in St. Louis, out of the gate? The first couple weeks of the season, this guy already has 6 or 7 home runs already. It took a while for Albert Pujols to get his first home run this year. But you know what? At the end of the season, he was able to notch out a really decent season. 30 home runs, 105, like I said, with the .285 average. I agree with you, Timmy. I think he's a little bit past his prime right now. He's not going to be. We're not going to be seeing, the Albert Pujols that's going to be hitting, 43 home runs, 44 home runs. I can see him from here on out for the rest of his career right now, maybe in the 30s. If he's able to reach 40, that would be really amazing for Albert Pujols. Like you said, with the acquirement of Josh Hamilton, he has a little bit more help in that lineup to get, the extra help. With Josh Hamilton, the Mike Trout, But Albert Pujols, number 5, great defensive overall player. This guy will always be on my number 1. There's just something about him that will always keep him at my number 1. Power, the average, and, it's just amazing. Albert Pujols is a treat to see when you go to an Angels baseball game.
Yeah, he certainly is. At number 1 for me, though, I have a guy who would have won the NL MVP, I think, had he stayed healthy. He was hitting .337 with 10 or 14 home runs in that area, and ultimately ends up hitting .337, 14 home runs, only played 111 games because of an injury-shortened season. But I think Joey Votto at this point, he's a really solid fielder. He has the capability of hitting about 35 home runs. I'd say that's where he will top out at. But I expect him to reach a number quite like that this year. And then also Joey Votto has the ability to give you a lot of RBIs, solid glove in the field. I think he has taken over from Albert Pujols as the best first baseman in the MLB. There's our top 10 list at first base. We are going to get stronger every day as we get towards this MLB season. And we will break down any and everything you want to hear before the 2013 MLB season. I'm Tim Kelly along with Justin Godsey. This is The Real Sports Talk, and we'll see you guys later.